Despite breaking barriers as the first African American to win an Oscar, Hattie McDaniel's career remains clouded by controversy, often tied to her acceptance of roles that perpetuated negative racial stereotypes. Her portrayal of Mammy in Gone with the Wind was applauded by many, but criticized by others for reinforcing antiquated notions about black servitude. At a time when opportunities for black performers were scarce, McDaniel found herself torn between the chance to work in Hollywood and the criticism that her roles upheld systemic racism. She defended her decisions, often stating that it was better to work within the system and try to change it from the inside than to remain excluded entirely. She faced backlash from both the black community and activists who felt her choices set back the progress made by others working toward equality. Nevertheless, her personal challenges extended beyond public opinion. Jim Crow laws heavily influenced Hollywood and American society during her prime, restricting where McDaniel could live, work, and socialize. Despite having achieved immense fame, she was often denied entry into the same venues where her peers celebrated, even on the night she won her Oscar. These restrictions served as a sharp reminder of the realities many black Americans endured, no matter their achievements. For McDaniel, these indignities underscored the isolating nature of her success in an industry that allowed her limited agency over how she represented her race. Adding to this complexity, McDaniel's legacy remains polarizing. While some see her as a trailblazer who fought for representation behind the barriers of a discriminatory system, others argue that her willingness to accept roles that demean the image of black Americans makes her work a contentious part of Hollywood's racial history. The debate about her place in history continues, underscoring the nuanced and difficult choices she had to make during her career as she sought recognition and financial independence in a challenging era. McDaniel's legacy extended far beyond her historic Oscar win, cementing her role as a pioneer who broke racial barriers in the entertainment industry. In a remarkable tribute to her impact, she became the first African American to be honored on a U.S. postage stamp. This recognition symbolized not only her achievements, but also the esteem in which she was held long after her death. Her influence resonated further with the rare honor of receiving 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a distinction that few in the entertainment world attain, underscoring her multifaceted contributions as both an actress and a singer. Her unmatched talent and groundbreaking career earned her a place in the Black Filmmakers Hall of Fame in 1975, further recognizing her role in opening doors for black performers in Hollywood. Decades later, acknowledgement of her enduring legacy continued when she was inducted into the Colorado Women's Hall of Fame in 2010, paying homage to her roots and remarkable journey. Together, these accolades paint a vivid picture of a woman whose life and work permanently altered the landscape of American entertainment, inspiring future generations of artists. Despite acting in over 300 films, Hattie McDaniel's name was credited in only 83, a startling disparity that underscores the pervasive discriminatory practices in Hollywood during her time. McDaniel, an extraordinary actress and the first African American to win an Academy Award, faced the harsh reality of a film industry steeped in systemic racism. Her roles, largely confined to maids, cooks, and other servile characters, reflected not only the era's prevailing racial stereotypes, but also the deliberate exclusion of black actors from dignified and diverse representations on screen. Hollywood often relegated her and her peers to uncredited positions, denying them recognition even as their talent and contributions carried many productions. This bias was not merely a reflection of broader societal racism, but also a tool of the industry to marginalize black actors and maintain white dominance in storytelling. For Hattie McDaniel, the lack of acknowledgement was particularly egregious, given her substantial impact on the screen and her trailblazing legacy. Her groundbreaking Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in 1939 for her role as Mammy in Gone with the Wind highlighted her capabilities, but did little to change her standing within Hollywood. After this monumental achievement, she continued to encounter restricted opportunities, a testament to the deep-seated racial inequalities of the time. McDaniel's struggles were compounded by double-edged criticism from her own community and activist groups. Organizations like the NAACP condemned the servile roles she played, believing they perpetuated harmful stereotypes that restricted the social and professional mobility of African Americans. McDaniel, however, defended her career decisions, pointing out the limited choices available to black actors and asserting her preference to earn a living in entertainment rather than facing the harsher realities of other work options for African Americans. Her response underscores the complexity of navigating an industry and society as a black woman in the early 20th century. The exclusion of McDaniel's name from film credits further illuminates the industry's refusal to honor black contributions equally. This erasure from official records ensured that her legacy, and that of many other black artists, would be undervalued or overlooked entirely. It also highlights how Hollywood's systemic racism extended beyond casting to encompass all facets of recognition and reward. By downplaying or outright ignoring the presence of black actors in credits, the industry perpetuated a narrative that their work was less significant or necessary, fostering a false history that celebrated white creatives disproportionately. Even after her death, McDaniel faced posthumous indignities that symbolized the racial divisions of her time. Her wish to be buried in Hollywood Cemetery was denied due to segregationist policies, a final reminder of the barriers she overcame, and those she could not dismantle. Yet, despite these obstacles, McDaniel's life and career stand as a testament to her resilience and talent. The bias she faced, both explicit and hidden, reflects an industry reluctant to fully embrace or respect diverse stories and voices. However, McDaniel's achievements also paved the way for future generations of black actors to demand their rightful place in Hollywood's narrative, ensuring her impact would not be forgotten. Growing up as the 13th of 14 children in Wichita, Kansas, on June 10, 1893, Hattie McDaniel was surrounded by resilience and a sense of profound history embedded in her family. Her parents, Suzanne Holbert and Henry McDaniel, had endured the shackles of slavery and emerged with a determination to instill strength and perseverance in their children. Suzanne, a spirited gospel singer, filled her home with melodies that reflected both pain and hope, planting in young Hattie the seeds of creativity and expression. Henry McDaniel, on the other hand, bore the legacy of his service as a private in the United States Colored Troops during the Civil War, a past that echoed the fight for freedom and dignity. Together, they embodied a heritage of tenacity and faith that shaped Hattie's identity. When the family moved from Kansas to Colorado, they carried with them aspirations for better opportunities. Their journey led first to Fort Collins, and later to Denver, where Hattie's artistic leanings began to flourish amidst the backdrop of a changing American landscape. Being part of a family steeped in the traditions of gospel singing, she was enveloped in a culture of storytelling through music, a practice that not only nourished her soul, but also laid the foundation for her artistic career. The McDaniel household resonated with the sounds of spirituals and laughter, weaving together their struggles and triumphs into an enduring tapestry of shared experience. Hattie's upbringing in the post-Civil War era, brimming with both hardships and hope, imbued her with a remarkable ability to connect with the world through performance. The rich and varied experiences she shared with her siblings, alongside the inspiring legacy of her parents, contributed to her understanding of how culture could transcend oppression. Though the family faced financial difficulties, their perseverance and faith were unwavering, molding Hattie into a young woman who understood the importance of using her voice, both literally and figuratively. Moving westward, she absorbed the rhythm of life around her and began to tap into her own potential, while observing her parents' steady resolve and compassion. The transition from Kansas to Colorado marked a critical juncture in Hattie's early life, offering glimpses of the possibilities available beyond a rigid and racially divided society. Denver, in particular, became a stage where her talents could gain recognition and legitimacy. Continuing the traditions of gospel singing, she found a sense of community and connection within her family's musical performances, which often served as a source of communal strength and solace. This music intertwined with the stories her father shared of his courage and sacrifice during the war, echoing a broader narrative of survival and empowerment. During her early career, Hattie McDaniel drew heavily from her family's musical roots, especially the gospel traditions that shaped her upbringing. This foundation served as a powerful influence, inspiring her to pursue music as both a passion and a profession. Her journey into the performing arts began with her brother Otis's minstrel shows, a prevalent form of entertainment during that era. Though minstrel shows often relied on racial stereotypes to appeal to a wide audience, they provided an early platform for McDaniel to hone her talent, notably in songwriting and performance. Dedication to her craft became evident as she developed a reputation for her ability to connect with audiences through music and humor. Her brother's influence was not limited to providing her an entry point into performance. Through these minstrel shows, she was given the opportunity to demonstrate versatility and creativity. While the racial context of minstrel shows presents a complex legacy, In Hattie McDaniel's case, these performances offered a rare opportunity for visibility and professional growth within entertainment at a time when avenues for black artists were severely constrained. By the 1920s, McDaniel's professional trajectory found a new and pivotal chapter with her association with Professor George Morrison's Melody Hounds. This Denver-based jazz group became an instrumental phase in McDaniel's career, allowing her to further refine her musicality and stage presence. With the Melody Hounds, her voice became the centerpiece of their tours, captivating audiences across the country. The partnership was both a stepping stone and an essential collaboration that showcased her remarkable singing talents. Her achievements during this period didn't stop at live performances. She broke barriers for African American women by becoming one of the first black female performers to gain recognition on radio. This was a monumental feat, given the systemic racism of the era that kept many black artists out of mainstream media platforms. Station KOI in Denver played a significant role in broadcasting her music, amplifying her reach to audiences that extended far beyond live venues. This level of exposure was a groundbreaking accomplishment that helped elevate McDaniel's profile as both a singer and a pioneer in media representation. Moreover, McDaniel's early radio career was not just about breaking barriers, but also about influencing public perception of African American talent. Her radio performances portrayed her as a trailblazing figure within the entertainment industry, challenging the norms that segregated entertainment and often relegated black performers to obscurity. These broadcasts allowed listeners to experience her charisma and musical brilliance in their own homes, making a lasting cultural impact. Additionally, her work with the Melody Hounds in the mid-1920s coincided with an era of great musical innovation in American jazz and blues. McDaniel's contributions through her songwriting and vocal performances were emblematic of these dynamic changes. Her ability to navigate this evolving musical landscape underscored both her adaptability and her artistry. The years she spent on stage and on air during her early career laid a firm foundation for the later accomplishments that would define her legacy. Through musical beginnings shaped by family traditions, minstrel shows, and groundbreaking radio appearances, McDaniel emerged as a symbol of resilience and creativity, reflecting both the struggles and the triumphs of African American artists in the early 20th century. The economic collapse triggered by the stock market crash of 1929 marked a profoundly challenging phase in Hattie McDaniel's life. Amidst the widespread devastation of the Great Depression, entertainment jobs became increasingly scarce, forcing McDaniel to abandon her flourishing career temporarily. After leaving the touring production of Showboat, she found herself stranded without work and far from the comforts of financial stability. Relocating to Milwaukee, she was compelled to accept a position as a restroom attendant and waitress at Sam Pick's Club. This role, while offering some means of survival, was a significant departure from the performing arts to which she had dedicated her life. This period represented a low ebb for McDaniel, as the daily realities of janitorial work demanded that she set aside her passion for singing and acting, yet destiny seemed intent on altering her trajectory. During an evening at Sam Pick's Club, circumstances led McDaniel to take to the stage. The regular headliner had failed to appear, and McDaniel, whose immense talent was evident to those around her, filled in as a last-minute replacement. Her performance electrified the audience, proving that her abilities could captivate and charm even in the most trying of times. Her act was an astounding success, earning her recognition as a star attraction at the venue. Night after night, patrons marveled at McDaniel's commanding voice and charismatic stage presence. Despite initial reluctance from the club's owner to showcase McDaniel's talents in an official capacity, the overwhelming positive reception from the audiences left little choice but to make her a regular performer. Her ascent to local fame during this challenging period was not just a testament to her skill, but also to her unwavering resolve and adaptability. As people crowded the smoky club interiors, McDaniel's vibrant renditions of popular songs and blues numbers forged a connection that transcended the pervasive racial barriers of the era. Her time at Sam Pick's Club became a formative chapter, reaffirming her identity as a performer, while providing an essential stepping stone that would eventually lead her westward to pursue greater ambitions. The applause and admiration she garnered weren't just rewarding, they proved invaluable in restoring her confidence and recalibrating her aspirations. Though the Great Depression's grip on society remained firm, McDaniel's stint at Sam Pick's symbolized a turning point in her career. From a position of near invisibility in the background of the club's service areas, McDaniel emerged as a formidable force in Milwaukee's entertainment scene. This period not only redefined her career, but also set the stage for her subsequent rise to national prominence, proving that even in the shadows of despair, resilience and brilliance could shine through. In 1931, facing the challenges of the Great Depression, Hattie McDaniel made the pivotal decision to relocate to Los Angeles in the hopes of carving out a career in the burgeoning world of Hollywood cinema. Motivated by both her passion for acting and the desire to be near her siblings, McDaniel sought opportunities in an industry predominantly dominated by white actors, creating a landscape that provided limited roles for African Americans. Despite the societal limitations of the era, she approached this period of her life with resilience and determination. Her siblings, already based in Los Angeles, played a crucial role in encouraging her move, further solidifying her decision to take this bold step toward her dreams. Once in Hollywood, the road was far from easy for McDaniel. Like many aspiring actors of her time, she had to take on various jobs to sustain herself while waiting for the right break to come her way. Frequently, she found employment as a maid or cook, roles that mirrored the archetypal characters available for African Americans in films during the 1930s. These humble yet challenging real-life roles demonstrated her grit and provided her with the means to persist in an otherwise unforgiving industry. She also used her talents to perform occasionally on the radio, captivating listeners with her wit and vocal prowess, which were instrumental for earning her first on-screen opportunities. Hattie McDaniel's arrival in Hollywood coincided with the rapid growth of the film industry, a period that created both excitement and competition for aspiring actors. Although doors did not always open easily, her perseverance paid off when she began securing small roles. Her early forays into film may have been modest, often as an extra or in small parts portraying housekeepers. Yet these roles were stepping stones toward more significant opportunities. Navigating an industry fraught with racial bias, her unwavering commitment to her craft was unmistakable. McDaniel's steady determination enabled her to break barriers that many African Americans in her time deemed insurmountable. This period of transition, filled with both struggle and ambition, laid the groundwork for what would become an iconic career. It showcased her willingness to endure hardships and keep her focus on the dream of acting, making her eventual successes all the more profound. McDaniel's move to Hollywood was not just a relocation, but a leap of faith into the very heart of an often exclusionary industry. Her journey stands as a testament to her belief in her talent and her unyielding spirit, characteristics that would define her legacy in the years to come. After appearing as a maid in the Golden West, Hattie McDaniel officially stepped into the world of Hollywood. The year was 1932, and though the role was small and uncredited, it signified her breakthrough into an industry that, at the time, offered rare opportunities to African American performers. The part required only brief glimpses of her presence, yet it showcased her professional approach and undeniable charisma on screen. Soon after, in 1933, her career took another step forward when she appeared in the Mae West vehicle, I'm No Angel. One of the most popular stars of that time, West's films were marked by their entertaining wit and charm, and in this project, McDaniel played one of the maids who performed alongside West backstage. While her role in this film was also uncredited, it allowed McDaniel to ease into the motion picture business while learning from established stars and crews. Over time, the experience she gained positioned her as a valuable supporting player in an industry rapidly evolving in its creative ambitions. This early exposure to cinema laid the groundwork for McDaniel's eventual success, allowing her to refine her craft and gain further opportunities. In 1934, Hattie McDaniel made a pivotal decision that would significantly shape her career and pave the way for greater opportunities in Hollywood. Joining the Screen Actors Guild, commonly referred to as SAG, marked a transformative moment not only for McDaniel, but also for black actors striving to carve a space in a predominantly white industry. At a time when systemic racial discrimination remained an unfortunate reality, Screen Actors Guild membership came with important protections and new possibilities, although the fight against prejudice required continuous resolve. Becoming a member of Screen Actors Guild allowed McDaniel to access roles that she might not have been offered otherwise. This was an era when many black performers only appeared in films uncredited or in stereotypical roles that garnered little acknowledgement. However, her union affiliation gave her the leverage to demand on-screen credit, ensuring her contributions would be recognized. This recognition became a catalyst in her journey toward earning more prominent roles, such as those in feature films like Judge Priest and The Little Colonel. These opportunities opened doors that brought her closer to the iconic achievements she would later gain, including her landmark win as the first African American to receive an Academy Award. Although Screen Actors Guild provided a framework for fairer treatment, it became apparent that the union's backing could only go so far. Hattie still faced prejudice on multiple fronts, both blatant discrimination and the lingering societal biases that restricted how far a black actress could rise in Hollywood at the time. Even with her Screen Actors Guild card in hand, McDaniel continued to navigate a landscape where typecasting often relegated her, and others to servile roles, reflecting the segregated attitudes of the era. Membership empowered McDaniel to confront injustices in small, but significant ways, offering her the beginnings of an equal footing in an unequal industry. Her involvement in Screen Actors Guild showed a level of determination and courage, as not all artists had access to the same opportunities. That decision in 1934 to join Screen Actors Guild laid the groundwork for her historic career milestones. The NAACP objected strongly to Hattie McDaniel's acceptance of roles that they believed reinforced harmful racial stereotypes. During her career, McDaniel often portrayed characters such as maids and house servants, roles that were rooted in Hollywood's racial biases of the time. Her portrayal of Mammy in Gone with the Wind became emblematic of this conflict. Though her performance earned her the historic achievement of becoming the first black actor to win an Academy Award, organizations like the NAACP viewed such roles as a reinforcement of demeaning stereotypes. And NAACP leaders, such as Walter White, accused McDaniel and other black actors of perpetuating a subservient image of African Americans. By portraying characters that were often loyal and pleasing to white families, McDaniel was seen by critics within the black community as contributing to the entrenchment of racist imagery. These stereotypical depictions were thought to diminish the dignity of African Americans and detract from the broader civil rights struggle for equality and respect. Despite these criticisms, McDaniel defended her choices, emphasizing the limited opportunities available to black actors in the era. She argued that it was better to work and be represented on screen, even within the confines of existing stereotypes, than to have no representation at all. McDaniel believed her work paved the way for future black actors by increasing their visibility in the entertainment industry. Her pragmatic approach reflected the harsh realities of Hollywood, where black performers were often boxed into specific, racially defined roles. Throughout her career, Hattie McDaniel carved out a unique space in Hollywood by portraying strong-willed, sassy maids, a niche that allowed her to blend her comedic genius with a commanding on-screen presence. Despite the racial prejudices and limited roles available to black actors during her time, McDaniel brought remarkable depth and humor to her performances, elevating characters that might have otherwise been dismissed as mere stereotypes. These roles became her signature, setting her apart and making her a memorable figure in film history. McDaniel's ability to infuse these characters with vivacity and charm appealed to a wide audience, resonating with viewers across racial lines. Her performances transformed the trope of the servant into something relatable and humanized, showcasing her unparalleled skill in making the audience laugh while also appreciating the subtle, layered aspects of her acting. Each role offered her the chance to assert her talent, no matter how confident the part may have seemed on the surface. Hollywood often typecast McDaniel into domestic servant roles, but she used these opportunities to redefine their scope. She brought a blend of warmth and assertiveness to her characters, making them the scene stealers in both comedic and serious contexts. In doing so, she demonstrated her immense versatility and talent, proving that even roles relegated to the margins of Hollywood scripts could wield significant influence when in skilled hands. Her artistry in these roles secured her place in cinematic history, and even gained the admiration of many of her peers. Through her portrayals, McDaniel showed an ability to navigate the challenging landscape of Hollywood in the 1930s and 1940s. The era was marked by stark racial segregation and limited opportunities for black performers. Regardless, McDaniel worked with what she was given, using her roles as a platform to showcase her abilities and, in many ways, to subtly challenge the constraints placed upon her. Her performances gave characters a voice and a vitality that turned these marginal roles into defining elements of her career. Her comedic timing and delivery were pivotal in the success of her performances. By thoroughly understanding the material she was given and the audience she performed for, she turned seemingly minor characters into standout elements of the films she worked on. This unique ability not only cemented her as a force to be reckoned with in Hollywood, but also allowed her to challenge the very industry that sought to pigeonhole her. By doing so, she set a precedent for future black actors, showing that even within the confines of Hollywood's stereotype-driven narratives, there was room for creativity, nuance, and excellence. The portrayal of Mammy in Gone with the Wind by Hattie McDaniel generated significant attention and discussion both during her time and in subsequent years. This role placed her at the center of an important moment in cinematic and cultural history. Her character Mammy, a house servant with a mix of humor, loyalty, and fortitude, reflected complex racial dynamics in American society and within the Hollywood industry of that era. Many people praise McDaniel for her heartfelt and professionally skilled performance, which stood out despite the limited scope black actors were generally given on screen at that time. Mammy became a memorable figure in the history of American cinema, in part due to McDaniel's compelling and nuanced delivery. At the 12th Academy Awards on February 29, 1940, McDaniel's skillful rendition earned her the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, making her the first black actor to receive this prestigious honor. The award embodied a significant milestone, as no black actor before her had been formally acknowledged in this way by the Motion Picture Academy. Most historical accounts of the event note how moving her acceptance speech was, a delicate mixture of appreciation, humility, and optimism. She expressed her overwhelming gratitude, saying that it was one of the happiest moments of her life, and promising to live up to the honor of being an inspiration for future generations of black artists. She spoke of her pride not only for herself, but also for the broader contributions of her race. This achievement, however, was met with conflicting responses. Critics pointed out that McDaniel's portrayal of Mammy aligned with long-standing racial stereotypes of domestic workers and subservience from African Americans, a portrayal many civil rights advocates wished to leave behind. As a result, her milestone win was viewed by some as a bittersweet moment. While it demonstrated the potential for black actors to excel and gain recognition, it also underlined Hollywood's inclination at the time to typecast them in restrictive and often demeaning roles. This dichotomy sparked conversations about representation in media that continue to resonate today. The racial climate of the 1940s added layers of complexity to McDaniel's groundbreaking achievement. At the very ceremony where she was honored, she was subjected to discriminatory practices, seated at a segregated table far from her co-stars, and relegated to a separate area of the room due to the Jim Crow segregation laws prevalent at the time. These realities considerably tempered the celebration of her historic victory, laying bare the entrenched inequalities persisting in social and professional settings. In the years that followed her accolade, Hattie McDaniel expressed little regret over her career choices despite ongoing criticism from progressive leaders within the black community, who implored Hollywood for roles that transcended service positions. McDaniel defended her work, emphasizing the realities of the limited opportunities available to actors of color and the importance of her professional achievements. She firmly believed that portraying such roles with dignity could pave the way for eventual inclusivity in American entertainment. McDaniel's groundbreaking Oscar win remains a focal point in discussions about race and representation in Hollywood. Beyond merely receiving an award, she symbolized both the triumphs and the challenges faced by actors of her era, grappling with deeply rooted systemic barriers while achieving historic successes that inspired future progress. Her legacy continues to spark reflection on how artists of diverse backgrounds navigate the representation of their culture in today's evolving media landscape. In an effort to capitalize on the fame and recognition gained from her Oscar-winning performance as Mammy in Gone with the Wind, Hattie McDaniel sought to carry her beloved character onto the stage in a live performance tour. However, when she attempted to develop a Mammy-based tour, she was met with widespread rejection by many members of the black community. The Mammy character, though endearing to white audiences of the era for her perceived joviality, loyalty, and comforting presence, had long been a point of contention for African Americans. To many black Americans, Mammy was more than a role or a character. It represented a painful stereotype of servitude. A role confined by racial caricatures, Mammy was a figure many believed reinforced harmful societal perceptions of black inferiority and relegation to roles of submission and service. Black audiences, particularly those more attuned to the broader struggles of racial uplift, cringed at McDaniel's decision to further embody and promote a character who was seen as a relic of plantation romanticism. The rejection was rooted in the deep complexities of representation in Hollywood. While white audiences embraced Mammy as charming, and perhaps even heartwarming, African Americans felt circumscribed by such displays. Mammy had become a symbol of entrenched racial narratives, a figure stripped of agency and autonomy. By attempting to tour with this character, McDaniel inadvertently exacerbated tensions between her personal career aspirations and the collective desire of her community to rise above retrogressive portrayals of black identity. While it is undeniable that McDaniel broke barriers as the first African American to win an Academy Award, her association with Mammy became a double-edged sword. Her on-screen success opened doors for black actors during an era of rigid racial segregation, but the roles available to them were often limited to those that existed within the realm of subservience to white characters. When McDaniel sought to extend Mammy's life beyond the silver screen, she found fewer supporters among her own people. Many viewed her choice as acquiescing to Hollywood's narrow and oppressive vision of black life. This reaction underscored the fraught relationship between representation, survival, and dignity for African Americans in the entertainment industry. The response to McDaniel's tour attempt mirrored broader resistance movements within black communities of the time. Efforts to reject the Mammy stereotype were part of a burgeoning awareness of how cultural portrayals could shape societal attitudes. Activists and audiences alike sought roles and images that reflected empowerment and progress, not those that perpetuated older, harmful ideologies. McDaniel, by contrast, defended her decision to play Mammy as a means of financial stability and personal survival in a competitive, discriminatory industry. She argued that accepting work, despite its controversies, kept her afloat in an unforgiving Hollywood landscape. Nevertheless, her insistence on reviving Mammy for a live audience seemed dissonant with the aspirations of black Americans striving for broader societal change. The backlash to McDaniel's Mammy tour was emblematic of the challenges faced by many early African American performers who had to navigate a treacherous path between their own ambitions and the expectations of their communities. For McDaniel, the rejection of her tour highlighted the precarious balance between the individual successes of black artists and the larger fight for progress in racial equality. While Hattie McDaniel's groundbreaking success made her a celebrated figure, it elicited complex reactions within the black community that displayed a deep divide. Some championed her legacy as a trailblazer, recognizing her as the first African American to win an Academy Award. Her performance as Mammy in Gone with the Wind, a role that marked that historic win, not only established her as an iconic figure in Hollywood history, but also symbolized progress at a time when opportunities for black actors were severely limited. McDaniel's achievement, in the eyes of many, was heralded as a breakthrough in the entertainment industry and a testament to resilience and immense talent. She overcame systemic obstacles and discrimination to gain prominence that inspired other African Americans to push boundaries in their professional aspirations. Yet, her rise to stardom was shadowed by criticism directed particularly at the roles she accepted. Many argued that her frequent portrayal of maids and domestic workers reinforced stereotypes about black individuals, perpetuating a reductive and limiting image of African Americans in cinema. Critics pointed to these portrayals as tools that further entrenched societal prejudices rather than dismantling them. McDaniel's professional choices became a central focus of debate within the black community, with detractors accusing her of prioritizing career success over social responsibility, thereby undermining the dignity and respectability of her race. These differing perspectives underscored a fundamental tension between representation and respectability, a debate shaped by the socio-political constraints of the time. While McDaniel herself reportedly defended her roles by stating, "I'd rather play a maid than be a maid," others lamented that these performances came at the expense of the broader struggle to elevate the representation of black people in popular media. Her success highlighted the limited lens through which Hollywood viewed African Americans, often confining them to stereotypical roles that failed to capture the complexity of their experiences. Even in celebration of her Oscar win, the broader context of racial inequality and exclusion was glaringly evident. McDaniel was not permitted to sit with her white co-stars at the Academy Awards ceremony, an indignity that underscored the systemic racism of the era. Despite the personal triumph that the evening signified, the experience mirrored the segregated reality that limited opportunities and perpetuated inequities for African Americans, even in spaces as culturally significant as Hollywood. This polarizing reception drove home the realities of navigating a racist industry while striving for personal and societal advancement. McDaniel's life and career thus became emblematic of the broader struggles faced by Black Americans during the early 20th century. On one hand, she shattered barriers and paved the way for generations of actors to come. On the other, she was ensnared within a Hollywood machine that restricted the scope of possibilities for how African Americans could be portrayed and perceived. The mixed feelings surrounding her career reflected a profound cultural debate about identity, aspiration, and the cost of success in a system designed to marginalize. McDaniel's legacy reveals the complexity of forging progress within structures of oppression, as well as the difficult choices faced by those who break new ground. By navigating an industry deeply entrenched in racial hierarchies, she illuminated both the promise and the perils of representation in a world striving for equality. Despite the controversies and conflicting sentiments, she remains an indelible figure whose story continues to provoke reflection on art, identity, and social change. Her life serves as a reminder of the multifaceted nature of progress in the ever-evolving fight for dignity. At the 12th Academy Awards in 1940, Hattie McDaniel walked into history as she stood to accept her Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. She was honored for her portrayal of Mammy in the iconic film Gone with the Wind. In a ceremony held at the segregated Coconut Grove nightclub in the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles, her path to the stage was symbolic of the barriers she had overcome and the strides made in the industry at that time. Although African Americans were relegated to a separate part of the room, her name being called as the winner created a moment of unity and transcendence in an otherwise divided era. When McDaniel ascended the stage, she delivered a speech that would remain etched in history. Wearing a blue dress and white gardenias in her hair, she stood with grace and composure that belied the discrimination she had faced even in Hollywood. Her voice carried both pride and gratitude as she began her remarks. She thanked the Academy for recognizing her work and the opportunity to be part of an industry that had seldom been open to people of her race. She expressed her heartfelt appreciation for being able to contribute meaningfully to the cinematic landscape and for being regarded as an equal by her peers, at least in that moment. She hinted at the challenges she had faced, but framed her victory as a victory for her community. With poised determination, she acknowledged the responsibility she felt to represent African Americans and promised to bring dignity, honor, and progress to her roles. Her message was clear: this award was not just for her, but for the entire Black community, who saw this as a forward step in their quest for equality in entertainment and beyond. The room erupted in applause and admiration for McDaniel's sincere and earnest delivery. For a brief moment, the barriers of segregation seemed to dissolve, as her achievement served as a beacon of hope for racial progress. Much has been written about McDaniel's eloquence and her role as a trailblazer that evening, but her words lingered as a reminder of both the possibilities and the work still left to be done. The night of the Academy Awards in 1940 was both triumphant and disheartening for Hattie McDaniel. She became the first African American to win an Oscar for her portrayal of Mammy in Gone with the Wind. However, her historic achievement unfolded within the cruel confines of racial segregation, a harsh reminder of the systemic barriers that persisted even as she made history. The award ceremony itself was held at the Coconut Grove nightclub, part of the whites-only Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. Although her accomplishments were undeniable, McDaniel's presence at the event was restricted. She sat at a segregated table at the back of the room, which was far removed from her white co-nominees and other Hollywood luminaries. When the ceremony ended, the disparity became even starker. The studio organized a celebration for the film's success at a posh club, but McDaniel was barred from joining her co-stars because of her race. This exclusion revealed the dualities of her existence. Her talent placed her at the pinnacle of achievement in her profession, yet the color of her skin ensured she remained sidelined from full inclusion in the community her work celebrated. This event was emblematic of McDaniel's broader experiences in Hollywood, where she frequently faced criticism from both sides of the socio-political spectrum. While the entertainment industry typecast her into servile roles that perpetuated racial stereotypes, some Black advocacy groups, like the NAACP, censured her for taking on these roles at all. They saw her portrayals as reinforcing demeaning images of African Americans. For McDaniel, however, the choice lay between limited representation and being excluded from Hollywood altogether. She once poignantly remarked that she would rather play a maid for $700 a week than be one for $7 a week. Even after death, McDaniel's experience with segregation continued to mar her legacy. She requested to be buried in Hollywood Cemetery alongside other entertainment greats, but the cemetery refused because it did not accept black burials. Despite these indignities, McDaniel's Oscar win remains a cornerstone of her legacy, paving the way for future generations of African American performers to gain recognition in an industry that had long marginalized them. Her grace and resilience in the face of pervasive discrimination underscored her enduring strength of character. Yet the image of her, alone on a night meant for celebration, remains one of the most poignant reminders of the barriers she confronted throughout her life. Despite the barriers of her time, Hattie McDaniel made a groundbreaking achievement in Hollywood with her historic Oscar win in 1940. Her portrayal of Mammy in Gone with the Wind earned her the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, making her the first African American to receive this honor. However, this moment of recognition echoed more than artistic excellence. It illuminated the deeply entrenched racial inequalities and systemic challenges faced by black actors in the entertainment industry. At the award ceremony, McDaniel was subjected to segregationist policies, as she was not allowed to sit with her white co-stars. Similarly, for the movie's premiere, her attendance was denied due to racial restrictions at the venue. Her accomplishment was unparalleled for decades, underscoring the slow progress in African American representation and acknowledgement in Hollywood. Not until 1990, a full half-century later, would another black actress, Whoopi Goldberg, win an Academy Award. Goldberg's award for her supporting role in Ghost served as a reminder of how long McDaniel's triumph stood as the singular moment of such achievement for black actresses. This 50-year gap draws attention to the pervasive exclusion black talent faced in American cinema. Despite the symbolic success of her Oscar win, McDaniel's career reflected the limited and often stereotypical roles available to black actors during her time, which sparked criticism even within her own community. In the years following McDaniel's award, her legacy became a beacon for perseverance and a reminder of Hollywood's painstakingly slow acceptance of diversity. The journey of recognizing black artistic contributions remains ongoing, with barriers gradually eroding only through determined efforts. By the time Goldberg took home her Oscar, the industry had seen strides but still had far to go. McDaniel's resilience and singular achievement remind us of her trailblazing role against significant societal resistance, marking her as a forebearer of change, though her win also highlighted the broader systemic inequities yet to be resolved. Though her career as an actress was surrounded by the trials of a segregated society, Hattie McDaniel found ways to pave a path to success, not just in her profession but also in her personal life. Her rise culminated with the purchase of a magnificent 17-room mansion in 1942, situated in Los Angeles' Sugar Hill neighborhood, an area famously dubbed the Black Beverly Hills. This house stood as a symbol of her resilience and triumph in an industry that often excluded black actors, despite their talent and dedication. McDaniel's home embodied grace and luxury. The house, designed by Lester S. Moore in 1911, was an architectural gem featuring a spacious living room, a formal dining room, a drawing room, a den, a butler's pantry, a library, 4 elegant bedrooms, and much more, including a basement she purposefully converted into an air raid shelter, reflecting her pragmatism during the World War II era. Not just a place to live, the house also became a vibrant cultural hub. Its endless wraparound porches and large backyard set the stage for countless gatherings and glamorous Hollywood parties. Hattie enjoyed hosting celebrities like Clark Gable, Ethel Waters, and others who admired her hospitality and charm. She filled the home with refined details such as French provincial ivory furniture, a grand piano in the living room, and her personal collection of dolls and African American art and history books. Her commitment to making her house a cultural treasure reflected not just her success, but her deep connection to her heritage. However, McDaniel's residence was more than a physical space of comfort and luxury. It turned into a battleground for racial equality. She and her neighbors faced court battles over restrictive covenants that aimed to prevent black residents from moving into certain Los Angeles neighborhoods. Remarkably, the residents of Sugar Hill, including McDaniel, prevailed in a landmark case that ultimately challenged these racially discriminatory practices. This win was not just a personal victory for her, it also marked a significant triumph for civil rights, as it opened new opportunities for black families who aspired to live in quality neighborhoods. While Hattie was a beloved entertainer, she also became a quiet yet powerful figure in the civil rights struggle, using her position to challenge systemic barriers. Her tenure in the House also reflected her ability to balance the joyful expressions of her success with the harsh realities of a segregated society. Though she sold the property in 1950 and moved into a smaller home, the mansion continued to symbolize her extraordinary legacy. Its legendary status was cemented by stories and photos that encapsulate a magnificent chapter of Hollywood and African American history. Although Hattie McDaniel achieved remarkable heights as a pioneering actress, her personal life was marred by profound challenges and heartbreaks. McDaniel married 4 times throughout her life, with each union reflecting the complexities and struggles she faced beyond the silver screen. Her first marriage, to George Langford in 1922, ended tragically when Langford passed away the same year, leaving her widowed early. Her next 2 marriages, including one with James Lloyd Crawford, became difficult chapters characterized by profound struggles. Within these unions, McDaniel experienced a devastating false pregnancy, an episode that profoundly impacted her emotionally. She yearned to have children, and when that dream proved unattainable, it left an unmistakable void in her life, deepening her sense of loss. Her third marriage underscored the emotional vulnerability of a woman attempting to balance a demanding career with longing for personal fulfillment. Unfortunately, it only lasted a few years. By the time she entered her fourth and final marriage with Larry Williams, hope for stability flowed through her personal life. However, that union unraveled within a year as well, reportedly due in part to financial disagreements. These cycles of unfulfilled ambition and loss became an inseparable part of her personal narrative. These emotional trials existed alongside the pervasive racial barriers McDaniel worked tirelessly to overcome in Hollywood. While her towering achievements made her a symbol of resilience and talent, her personal life brought moments of acute sorrow. Generations later, this balance between her meteoric public success and poignant private sacrifices remains a testament to the strength and vulnerability of a trailblazer. Toward the end of her life, Hattie McDaniel faced significant health challenges. In 1951, she experienced a heart attack, which marked the beginning of a dark period of declining health. Shortly afterward, she was diagnosed with advanced breast cancer. This diagnosis led her to withdraw from her role in the beloved television series Beulah, a painful departure from the work that had brought her joy and recognition. Hattie spent her remaining days at the motion picture country home in the San Fernando Valley, a haven for many ailing figures in Hollywood. Despite her deteriorating condition, she maintained her characteristic grace and courage. Hattie McDaniel passed away on October 26, 1952, at the age of 57. Her death was a heartbreaking loss not only to those who were close to her, but also to the countless individuals who had been inspired by her groundbreaking achievements and unyielding determination in the face of adversity. Hattie left specific instructions for her funeral in her will, reflecting her intentions even in death. She expressed a wish to be buried in the Hollywood Forever Cemetery in Los Angeles, a place where many notable figures in entertainment had found their final resting place. However, the era's racial segregation policies prevented her burial there, highlighting the deep racial inequalities of the time. Instead, Hattie McDaniel was laid to rest at Rosedale Cemetery, now known as Angelus Rosedale Cemetery, in Los Angeles. Her funeral was an extraordinary event, attended by an estimated 3,000 mourners who came to pay their respects. The day was a testament to her unparalleled influence and the love she had garnered. A grand procession of 125 limousines followed her body to the cemetery, emphasizing the level of reverence for her. Fans of all races and backgrounds, as well as her close friends and colleagues, gathered to celebrate her accomplishments and collective legacy. Even in death, Hattie McDaniel faced racial prejudice, as illustrated by the denial of her burial wish. Yet, her story is more than one of challenges. Beyond her illustrious work on screen, she had left an imprint that resonated deeply within the entertainment industry and the broader Black community. Mourning her death, her admirers recognized the walls she had broken down as the first African American to win an Academy Award, and a pioneer who carved a path for future generations of Black actors and entertainers. Formal tributes poured in, reflecting on her career milestones and her impact on an America grappling with its racial conscience. Due to segregation laws prevalent during her lifetime, Hattie McDaniel's wish to be buried at Hollywood Cemetery was hindered. Instead, the acclaimed actress and pioneer was laid to rest at Angelus Rosedale Cemetery, a resting choice reflective of the racial barriers of her time. However, almost half a century later, her significant contributions could no longer be ignored. In 1999, the now renamed Hollywood Forever Cemetery erected a memorial monument in her honor. This tribute was not merely a physical marker made of gray and pink granite. It was a restitution of her unfulfilled wish and a recognition of her groundbreaking legacy. The dedication of this cenotaph stood as a poignant moment, acknowledging her immense contribution to film history and society. Tyler Cassidy, then owner of Hollywood Forever Cemetery, ensured that McDaniel's legacy would be symbolically returned to the cultural embrace of Hollywood. With words like "Aunt Hattie, you are a credit to your craft, your race, and your family," engraved by family relatives, the memorial exemplified the long overdue reverence McDaniel earned in life and death, uniting her spirit with the legacies of others in the storied cemetery. Through the years, the disappearance of Hattie McDaniel's Oscar has become an enigma that continues to spark speculation and reflection. McDaniel, celebrated for her groundbreaking win as the first black actor to receive an Academy Award in 1940 for her role in Gone with the Wind, bequeathed the honor to Howard University upon her passing in 1952. Her award, a plaque rather than the modern Oscar statuette, was prominently displayed in the university's drama department, serving as a symbol of McDaniel's contributions to cinema and the representation of black talent. However, by the late 1960s or 1970s, the award mysteriously disappeared. Rumors swirled around its fate, with one pervasive theory suggesting that disgruntled civil rights activists, critical of McDaniel's often stereotypical roles, threw the plaque into the Potomac River as a protest. Others speculated that it might have been misplaced, lost to poor storage practices, or stolen during the university's turbulent years. The missing award also highlights McDaniel's complicated legacy. While her Oscar win was an historic moment, it was also met with criticism from some within the black community who were uneasy about her portrayal of subservient characters. At the same time, McDaniel's achievements offered undeniable breakthroughs by challenging racial barriers in Hollywood and opening doors for future generations of black actors. This tension between advocacy and criticism remains at the heart of discussions about her career and the symbolic weight of her Oscar. Decades after its disappearance, the mystery of McDaniel's Oscar endures. Howard University, despite efforts to locate the plaque, eventually acknowledged its loss. In recent years, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences decided to replace the missing Oscar as a gesture of respect for McDaniel's enduring influence on the film industry. This decision underscores the continuing reverence for her legacy and the enduring symbolic power of her historic win. Yet, the original award's loss remains emblematic of larger questions about visibility, recognition, and the erasure of black contributions in history. Because Hattie McDaniel's groundbreaking achievements in Hollywood sparked a mixture of admiration and debate, her legacy stands as both an emblem of progress and a reminder of society's limitations during her time. Her portrayal of Mammy in Gone with the Wind, which earned her the distinction of becoming the first black actor to win an Academy Award, is perhaps her most recognized accomplishment. Yet it was also a role that placed her at the center of criticism within the black community. Many viewed her repeated representations of house servants in film as perpetuating demeaning racial stereotypes, solidifying the image of black individuals as secondary figures in service to white families. This tension reflected the restricted opportunities available to black actors in a segregated America, where Hollywood maintained systems that reduced black roles to caricatures of real lives. Civil rights organizations, such as the NAACP, openly voiced their concerns, arguing that roles such as Mammy, often jovial and subservient, undermined efforts for racial equality. McDaniel, however, defended her decisions, stating that she had opened doors for other black actors and actresses in an industry resistant to racial diversity. She expressed the belief that working within the system, even in limited and sometimes controversial roles, allowed her to pave the way for others. Her career, which spanned over 300 films, though she was only officially credited in about 80, demonstrated her resilience and dedication to her craft despite these limited avenues. Nonetheless, many critics saw her acquiescence to Hollywood's racial pigeonholing as a compromise of dignity for success, igniting debates about her legacy as a pioneer versus her role in conforming to stereotypes that affirm societal prejudices. The conflicting opinions about her career highlight the harsh realities of representation in an industry that had little room for complexity in its portrayal of black lives. While McDaniel's private thoughts on the broader implications of her work remain partly known through statements she released during her life, Her impact on future generations of black actors is undeniable. She did not live to see a more equitable representation of black people emerge in Hollywood, but her courage to navigate its Faustian bargain set a precedent, even as it divided the opinions of her contemporaries. McDaniel defended her career choices, emphasizing that earning $700 a week for portraying a maid was far better than the meager wages she would receive as a real maid. This perspective highlights the difficult choices faced by many black actors during her time, where opportunities were limited and often relegated to stereotypical roles. Despite the criticism she faced for accepting such roles, McDaniel understood the financial security they provided. Her success in Hollywood allowed her to rise above the economic struggles that many in her community experienced. Later in her life, she used her earnings to support various black causes, demonstrating her commitment to uplifting her community. McDaniel's actions showed that she was not just an actress, but also a philanthropist who cared deeply about the issues affecting black Americans. Her legacy is a testament to the complexities of navigating a career in an industry that often marginalized her race, while still striving to make a positive impact. Hattie McDaniel navigated a challenging Hollywood landscape marked by limited opportunities for black performers. Known for her iconic role as Mammy in Gone with the Wind, a performance that earned her the distinction of being the first African American to win an Academy Award, McDaniel wrestled with public criticism over the roles she accepted. She was often cast as maids or servants, roles viewed by many in her community as perpetuating racial stereotypes. Yet McDaniel defended her choices, emphasizing that her work provided visibility during a time when black actors were frequently excluded from Hollywood projects altogether. She believed it was better to take these roles than to be entirely absent from the screen, as it allowed her to establish a platform in a segregated industry. Her decision created lasting debates about racial representation in media. Unlike some of her contemporaries who rejected such roles in favor of independently produced race films, catering specifically to African American audiences, McDaniel chose the alternative path of working within the mainstream. This choice brought both fame and criticism, as she balanced breaking ground in an industry fraught with prejudice, while facing disapproval from those who argued she should have taken a stand against discriminatory depictions. For McDaniel, the trade-off was one of survival and progress, though she acknowledged the pain of community backlash. Her legacy extends beyond her work as an actress. A pioneer, she opened doors for future generations of performers, showing it was possible to enter and succeed in an industry built on exclusionary practices. Yet her career highlights the double-edged sword of opportunity and representation for black actors during her era. She remains a critical point of reference in discussions about racial progress and the difficult choices faced by artists seeking both authenticity and acceptance in a discriminatory industry. McDaniel's journey speaks to the resilience and compromises required to achieve seemingly impossible milestones while maintaining one's dignity amidst societal critiques. Although Hattie McDaniel's achievements are undeniable, her legacy is deeply associated with controversy and promise. Born in 1893, McDaniel faced a rigidly segregated society and limited pathways for black talent in Hollywood. Her career milestones are a testament to her resolve and artistry, despite a system designed to stifle inclusivity. At the height of her success, she broke barriers by becoming the first African American to win an Academy Award. This historic accolade was for her performance as Mammy in Gone with the Wind in 1939, a role that immortalized her talent, but also tethered her to the troubling stereotypes of that era. These portrayals, though a breakthrough for McDaniel's acting career, sparked widespread criticism for perpetuating demeaning archetypes of black Americans. The NAACP and other organizations often disapproved, calling for more dignified roles for black performers. However, McDaniel defended her participation, arguing that she would rather play a maid on screen than be relegated to that same role off-screen. While others viewed her as complicit in Hollywood's racial inequities, her position highlighted the nuanced and constrained realities of actors of color during her time. McDaniel's triumph was not without additional struggles. Despite her monumental Oscar win, racial segregation defined her victory. She attended the ceremony at the Coconut Grove nightclub, where seating and socializing were strictly divided by race. Even there, she was placed at a segregated table far from her peers. Her groundbreaking achievements collided with the haunting realities of America's systemic injustices. Moreover, her influence reached beyond the screen. She took immense pride in her work, supported burgeoning black talent, and consistently spoke on race issues in the industry. Even as she faced personal and professional prejudice, she hoped future generations would benefit. Those who champion her memory see McDaniel's contributions as invaluable in the fight for diversity and equal recognition in entertainment. The complexity of McDaniel's legacy resides in this juxtaposition. By excelling within and navigating a stifling structure, she laid the groundwork for a reimagined Hollywood while inevitably being defined by its historic restrictions. Her name evokes not only a narrative of triumph, but also the perpetual quest for balance between progress and representation in an industry undergoing transformation to this day. McDaniel's career choices were often made out of survival. In a time when opportunities for black actors were severely limited, she navigated a challenging landscape. Many roles available to her perpetuated stereotypes, yet she accepted them to ensure her continued presence in Hollywood. This decision was not made lightly. It reflected the harsh realities of the racial barriers that existed in the film industry. McDaniel understood that taking on these roles, while sometimes painful, was necessary for her to support herself and her family. Her performances, though often confined to the roles of maids or servants, showcased her immense talent and resilience. By accepting these parts, she opened doors for future generations of black actors, even as she faced criticism for not challenging the status quo. Her sacrifices highlight the difficult choices many artists had to make in a system that marginalized them. McDaniel's journey illustrates the complex interplay between survival and artistic integrity in a racially divided Hollywood. As tensions and debates still linger over the portrayal of racial roles in American cinema, Hattie McDaniel's performance as Mammy in the film Gone with the Wind serves as a central focus of scrutiny and divided opinions. Released in 1939, the movie became a colossal cultural and cinematic milestone, but McDaniel's character, a loyal house servant to the plantation-owning O'Hara family, was deeply rooted in stereotypes that painted African American characters in subservient and reductive ways. While some critics have labeled this depiction as a perpetuation of harmful racial tropes, others argue that McDaniel herself embodied resilience, navigating an era of systemic racism and limited opportunities for black performers. Set against the backdrop of a still segregated America, McDaniel's career highlight was paradoxical in nature. She achieved extraordinary personal success by becoming the first African American to win an Academy Award. This groundbreaking moment happened when she won Best Supporting Actress in 1940, an exceptional accomplishment that would otherwise symbolize progress in an industry reluctant to embrace diversity. Yet, even as she accepted her historic Oscar, McDaniel's barriers were glaring. She was seated at a segregated table during the award ceremony, apart from her white co-stars and crew members. Her Hollywood career, built on playing similar roles as maids and caregivers, invited condemnation from several key figures and observers, particularly among African American intellectuals at the time. These criticisms focused mainly on how Mammy's character reinforced the notion of content servitude, a fantasy heavily marketed by the film and aligned with nostalgic interpretations of the antebellum South. McDaniel, however, defended herself against the backlash, stating that gaining employment within the industry allowed her to earn a living and push boundaries from the inside. She was vocal in asserting that accepting roles others deemed demeaning was her way of paving the path for future generations of black entertainers. On occasion, McDaniel argued that her interpretation of Mammy helped highlight the humanity and emotions of enslaved African Americans, a feat seldom attempted in Hollywood at the time. Nevertheless, McDaniel's portrayal has become divisive among audiences and historians in contemporary discussions regarding race and representation in popular media. With Hollywood having been awash with discriminatory practices and systemic biases, artists like McDaniel were often trapped in an industry machine that demanded they adhere to stereotypical roles to secure work. For McDaniel, personal success came at the cost of enduring ceaseless criticism from fellow African Americans and the wider public. As debates over the legacy of Gone with the Wind continue, the broader discourse around McDaniel's contribution elevates complex questions. Her work remains symbolic of an era that confined options for black actors within narrow boundaries, yet her triumphs testify to her as a pioneer who broke barriers nonetheless. Seen today, Mammy may invoke discomfort for perpetuating historical injustices, but McDaniel's career narrative also sheds light on her formidable talent and determination in an industry that left her with stark choices. The tension between these two contrasting legacies ensures McDaniel's time in Hollywood remains one of history's most compelling cultural debates. The fame of Hattie McDaniel illuminated the varied paths available to black actresses during a time when navigating the racial disparities in Hollywood demanded a mixture of resilience, sacrifice, and compromise. As the first African American to win an Academy Award for her performance as Mammy in Gone with the Wind, McDaniel was both celebrated and critiqued for the roles she accepted. These parts, often stereotypical in nature, underscored a profound question for black actresses of her era. Was visibility worth the cost of perpetuating racial caricatures? McDaniel famously defended her choices, pointing to the financial stability her work afforded her and her family, but others saw such roles as inherently compromising to dignity and the broader fight for equitable representation. In stark contrast, stars like Lena Horne and Eartha Kitt ventured into their careers with a staunch refusal to accept roles that demeaned their identities or reduced their characters to stereotypes. Lena Horne, for instance, rejected typecasting outright, demanding roles with substance, even if it meant forgoing parts entirely. Her activism, coupled with her artistic integrity, marked a sharp departure from the strategies employed by McDaniel. Meanwhile, Eartha Kitt carved her own unique path by interpreting racial and gender constraints through her evocative performances on stage and screen. Her refusal to be pigeonholed revealed yet another way black actresses could resist the structural inequities of Hollywood. The disparity between McDaniel's pragmatic choices and the principled stances of Horne and Kitt points to the complexity of navigating Hollywood as a black actress. McDaniel opened doors and challenged the segregated industry by simply existing in a highly visible role, while Horne and Kitt pushed these openings wider by demanding freedom from the persistent cycle of offensive stereotypes. Their collective influence underscores the myriad strategies required to shift the narrative in a world resistant to change. By accepting different risks and rewards, all three women shaped the evolving identity of film and the place of black talent within it, leaving a profound legacy of courage and choice for future actresses to interpret and expand upon. Despite the barriers of her time, Hattie McDaniel carved a groundbreaking path for African American talent in Hollywood during an era of deeply ingrained racial segregation. Born in Wichita, Kansas, to formerly enslaved parents, McDaniel carried the weight of societal prejudice into her career. Despite such challenges, her accomplishments remain a testament to the complexities of racial identity, resilience, and ambition in a segregated entertainment industry. Her Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in 1940 for the role of Mammy in Gone with the Wind marked her as the first African American to win an Oscar. This milestone, though monumental, was achieved within a framework of Hollywood that often relegated black performers to servile or stereotyped roles. Her performance in Gone with the Wind not only showcased her exceptional acting talent, but also highlighted the conundrum faced by black actors of her time. She was criticized by some for perpetuating stereotypes, while simultaneously breaking barriers, serving as a powerful symbol of representation in cinema. Hattie McDaniel navigated this duality with immense grace, asserting that opportunities available to her had to be pursued regardless of their limitations to pave the way for others to follow. Beyond her Oscar, McDaniel's career encompassed film, radio, and stage performing, making her a versatile entertainer in an industry rife with inequity. Contextualizing McDaniel's accomplishments clarifies how her career was deeply intertwined with systemic racial inequities. The Academy Award banquet she attended was held in a segregated venue where she was seated separately from her white co-stars. These indignities punctuate the resilience she embodied, as her success came at a personal and professional cost in a white-dominated industry. McDaniel's success extended beyond film. She also became the first black actor to star in a nationally broadcast radio show, The Beulah Show, further cementing her legacy as a trailblazer for African American performers. Despite fierce criticism, including from organizations like the NAACP that sought to combat negative depictions of black characters, she continued to defend her work as a necessary step toward greater opportunities for the black community in entertainment. Her legacy is preserved not just through her accomplishments, but also through the conversations she sparked about racial representation, access, and agency in Hollywood. Her resilience in navigating an industry that confined her into narrow roles reveals much about the limitations, and yet also the significant breakthroughs, of black talent in her era. McDaniel's career underscores the importance of viewing individual triumphs within the larger societal constructs of her time, while acknowledging the enduring courage it took to claim space in a field that made little room for her presence. Overcoming immense societal and professional restrictions, Hattie McDaniel rose above an intensely segregated and racially biased Hollywood to make history as the first black actor to win an Oscar in 1940. Born in Wichita, Kansas, to parents who had been enslaved, her life was punctuated with groundbreaking achievements that collided with relentless discrimination. She graced the stage, radio, and screen, all while navigating an industry largely designed to limit her representation to restrictive and demeaning stereotypes. Her Academy Award-winning portrayal of Mammy in 1939's Gone with the Wind solidified her career, but also defined its controversy. McDaniel's life reflected a difficult dichotomy. She was simultaneously lauded and criticized. While her award symbolized a monumental breakthrough, it came at the cost of roles that perpetuated insensitive depictions of African Americans. Hollywood's Jim Crow-era policies exacerbated these dilemmas. On the evening of her Academy Award, she was segregated to the far corners of the ceremony venue, and when the film's premiere took place in Atlanta, she, along with her black colleagues, was not permitted to attend. While her choice to perform in these roles incited backlash from civil rights groups like the NAACP, who argued that her characters stalled progress, McDaniel defended her decisions. She argued that constrained opportunities often left black performers with few choices, maintaining her belief that working within Hollywood's confines was still a step toward greater visibility and change. Many supporters view her as an artist caught within the structural racism of her times, rather than a perpetrator of it. Critics, however, amplify the concern that these characters cemented harmful caricatures about black Americans in mainstream media. Despite professional controversies, McDaniel's personal struggle with systemic racism persisted. She lived in a sprawling Los Angeles neighborhood, but faced continuous legal battles over housing discrimination, even battling neighbors who sought to remove her through racially discriminatory covenants. Public recognition often belied her exclusion from spaces of equality, even as she became a household name. However divisive her legacy may be, McDaniel's contributions extended far beyond her screen appearances. She lent her voice to radio dramas, participated in wartime bond campaigns, and entertained troops. Yet these achievements often remain overshadowed by the debates surrounding her career choices. McDaniel's nuanced legacy continues to provoke questions about race, art, and resilience within an unequal society, ensuring her story remains a testament to both progress and the obstacles that hinder